If you're a pretty girl, you need to be more selfish to be able to protect your energy and grow your energy so that you can achieve everything that you want in your life. And being pretty doesn't mean that you need to be some Victoria's Secret supermodel. Being pretty, being beautiful, being hot just means that you understand that where effort goes, energy flows, which means that you understand that putting effort into yourself will bring in everything that you deserve. And essentially, that ties right back into the idea that you need to be selfish in order to protect your energy and especially also the beauty that you have worked so hard to build for yourself as a pretty girl. If you are someone who used to be a overcompensator, people pleaser, someone who used to always be the type of person who wanted to make everyone feel good in your company, you wanted to make sure that everyone was always taken care of before yourself. And now you've suddenly realized that when you put energy into your own self, your own beauty, your own healing, your own growth, then you're seeing just so much more of the world opening up to you. That is you becoming pretty. That is you becoming beautiful. That is you revealing the beauty that has always been inside of you because you are beautiful inherently. But when you start to tap into this power, you also have to understand that you have to be more selfish. And selfish isn't necessarily a bad word when you understand what it protects. A lot of the time, society paints someone who takes care of themselves, especially if they're a woman and they're a woman who usually was the type of person who wanted to people please, overcompensate, overshare. They usually make these women feel like they're immoral for suddenly wanting to put energy into themselves. Think about it like this. A lot of the times when a mom says that she wants 5 minutes to herself after having taken care of the baby all day, she's selfish. Or a woman who makes a lot of effort with doing her makeup, making sure her skin looks nice, making sure she goes to the gym and eats healthy. She's selfish. She is too focused on herself. She should be focused on everyone else. We're raised in a society where we're meant to always be something for someone before we are something for ourselves, which means that we actually do not tap into the power that is us understanding that we are inherently valuable as we are, no matter if we do something for someone or not. Essentially, when we are something for ourselves, we actually do a lot more for everyone else than we think we do. We've been brainwashed to believe that we cannot be of value unless we are in proximity to other people and we are doing something for other people. That is also why a lot of women actually end up thinking that they need relationships with other people, especially people that are not necessarily good for them in order for them to have value in society. And that is also how a lot of us women end up developing victim complexes because we give and we give and we give. We actually go into self-love debt and then we cannot understand why people around us keep on not giving back to us. We're doing so many selfless deeds. How come we're not getting anything back? How come we're not getting any reciprocation? Well, we're literally shrinking ourselves. We're doing everything for other people in order for us to feel like we are good enough, which means that they get validation from our existence in their reality, which means that they're going to continuously try to pull us in to validating them, which means that we'll be left without having any time for ourselves, without being able to realize our inherent value. So we do not get to actually build up our value, build up our energy, build up our stamina of being a powerful human being. We just deplete it and deplete it and deplete it until we have no more, and then these people move on to someone else. And then we wonder why we were left in the gutter. Well, that's because you put yourself last, hoping that if you put other people first, that would give you a one-up. No, you need to put yourself first. It doesn't mean that you're immoral. It doesn't mean that you're selfish in the bad sense. It doesn't mean that you are someone who doesn't care about other people. It means that you care about yourself first. You put on your own oxygen mask first. You make sure that you replenish your stores first so that you have the means to be able to give to other people without depleting yourself. Have you ever noticed how when a woman leaves a toxic relationship or a woman is starting to go into her hot girl era, suddenly she becomes much more hyper aware of the people that are around her. And she also becomes hotter after she's left a toxic relationship because suddenly the energy she has been putting into someone else, suddenly she can put that energy into herself. And a lot of the time, it's actually us who let ourselves be depleted, because it is our responsibility to make sure that we take care of ourselves. And what does responsibility mean? Well, responsibility means the ability to respond differently. And in this case, that means that you go where energy flows, where energy builds you, where energy is good. And then you do not stay around, you do not question things. If things start going bad, you remove your energy. Essentially, you are a moth, right? And a moth is something that is very attracted to light. That's how you are as well. But if you're someone who's been used to overcompensating, oversharing, people pleasing, then what you do is that even if the light goes out, remember, moths are attracted to light. When the light turns off, you stay around and you try to argue with why the light is off. You try to make the light go on. That's not the job of a moth. And I'm not saying you're a moth, but it's a very, very good analogy. What does a moth do? A moth finds another source of light, or it just stays by itself and recharges until it can find another source of light. The moth does not go around and try to argue with everyone and their mom, especially not the person who turns on and off the light, because it understands that it is not the moth that controls the light. Whoever wants to turn on the light or turn off the light, that is their responsibility. The moth's responsibility is to make sure that the moth preserves its energy and make sure that its energy goes where the light is. That is actually how detachment theory works. A lot of the time on the internet, we have a tendency to believe that detachment theory means that you become completely detached from everyone and you act like you already, like you don't have anyone in your life, so that you do not become dependent on them. Essentially, like already acting like you've lost all of your friends and your boyfriend and your mom and who's in your life, to build a wall to make sure that you can handle the hurt. That is literally you pre-ordering hurt that you do not even know whether it's going to come or not. That is not detachment theory. That is the illusion of control that you think you gain from pre-ordering or pre-setting yourself up for having strong boundaries. But they're not strong boundaries. They're just you making yourself more resentful. And that is not you being selfish. That is not you preserving your energy. That is actually you putting energy towards negativity that you are making up in your own head. That is not detachment, because it's not freedom. Remember this, detachment should always feel free. Detachment should always feel light. When you are truly detached, you should not feel heavy. You should not feel burdened. You should not feel like you have to control people or you have to control yourself. You should feel free and light. Like a moth who understands that when the light stops lightning, then you move on to another place that is light, or you move to a place where you can recharge your energy until you know where you go to find another light. The freedom to fly, that is detachment. Selfishness as a pretty girl isn't you being rude and acting like everyone and their mom is gonna stab you in the back already. It is just you feeling the energy of beauty, the energy of what it feels to feel good, because that's the energy of beauty. And then moving according to whether that energy is present or not. And you can feel whether that energy is present or not. Maybe you have a partner or a friend, and then suddenly maybe you hang around them, you're having a good time, and then one day they start not being as responsive. And now you feel weird. That is a sign that that energy, that light bulb is no longer on. And that is when you have to just move on. But you're not going to be trying to act like the light bulb is already turned off if the light bulb is still on. That is not protecting yourself. That is you creating an illusion of control that is not going to make you happier. And essentially, it's actually not you being selfish. It is you being obsessed with controlling other people to keep their light on, when the only thing you have to control is yourself. Being selfish as a pretty girl does not mean acting like you do not have any emotions because you do not want to get hurt. Being selfish means actually understanding that your emotions come first, and you're not going to try to control everyone around you because it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make you happier. It's not going to make you a better version of yourself. But you are going to let energy flow where it's supposed to flow. And then if it's not flowing there anymore, you're going to go to where it's going to flow, or you're just going to preserve your energy until you find where it's supposed to flow. Your strength actually lies within you being very much in touch with your feelings. And when something is good, you pour. You pour yourself into it because then you know that it will charge you, and it will charge you. Not because you're trying to make anyone else happy, not because you're trying to control the outcomes, not because you're trying to make sure that it stays this way forever, because everything is loaned. That's how you have to understand that this world, we're only here for a finite amount of time. So we have to understand that, you know what? Energy is always changing. But when you say, I don't need it, I have myself, I love myself, but you know what? I'm very, very grateful for being able to experience this energy. That is how you become more beautiful, and that is how you preserve your beauty. Because beauty lies within you being able to understand the power of your energy, and then removing your energy once you do not see that positivity, that flow, that feeling within your stomach being lit up when you're in someone or something's company. Then you act like the moth and you take your energy away and you go towards where you find that energy. But a moth, you know what a moth doesn't do? A moth doesn't look at a lamp and says, oh, you know what? This lamp might be turned off in 5 minutes, so I'm just going to stay over here and see and wait because I don't know if it's going to turn off or not. So I'm just going to act like I don't care if this light exists or not. I'm just going to sit over here. I'm just going to look at it. I'm just going to, play hard to get from the lamp. No, the lamp is a completely different entity. It's not a part of the moth. It doesn't care if the moth is there or not. The lamp is not trying to turn on and off to please the moth. And the moth playing hard to get for the light doesn't make the light turn on more. The moth is just going to go to where the light is when the light is shining. And then when the light turns off, it's just going to remove its energy. And that way it doesn't get butthurt, because the moth doesn't get butthurt over the light being turned off. It just goes to another place. That's something that we have a tendency to do, which is what makes us uglier. It makes us uglier, you guys, is that whenever someone removes their energy, we start trying to control other people's energy by questioning them, by saying, oh, what if you do this or do that? Or what if I help you with this and this and that? Won't you turn your energy back on? And then that's why we lose our energy, because we're so deeply entrenched in trying to make everyone and their mom happy by controlling them. And we're trying to control their light, while in reality, we're like the moth and the lamp. We do not control the lamp. We control whether we want to fly to the light or whether we want to fly to another light. And when that light is no longer there, then we preserve our energy or we move on to another light. We have to think about ourselves as the moth. Very, very simple, very, very animalistic, very, very primal. We go where our energy is charged. And we do not expend energy trying to argue when that energy is no longer there. It does not make sense, because it will not make us happier. It will only make us unhappy. But at the same time, we do not try to make the light stay on for longer than it's supposed to stay on, even if we don't even know when it's going to turn off. We're not going to try to control the lamp as soon as we land on the lamp, because you know what happens then? We do not enjoy the time we have sitting on the lamp, sitting on the light, getting the energy. We do not enjoy the energy because we're totally questioning all the time whether it's going to go away, instead of just assuming that sometime it is going to go away, and when it goes away, then we make another move. A girl who understands how to preserve her beauty and preserve her energy is a girl who actually does not just sit and argue with people over them removing their energy. She just moves accordingly. She mirrors. A pretty girl doesn't try to chase the light from people, because she understands that the light is there for them. That is their light. And if they want to give it, they can give it. But if they don't want to give it anymore, then she's not going to try to entertain that, because it's not going to make them give more of their light to her by her sitting and arguing with them that they should give her more light. That is detachment theory. That is what we need to learn. That is what we need to master in order for us to preserve our energy, in order for us to become better. That is why I say that we need to become selfish. Selfish doesn't mean immoral. Selfish doesn't mean bad. Selfish doesn't mean all of this and all of that. But as I said before, if you're a woman and suddenly you take 5 minutes to yourself, even if you have a kid, or you're a woman and suddenly you want to dress more professionally, maybe so that you be taken more seriously in a specific type of work. When a woman removes her energy to recharge her own energy, or a woman, for example, if a woman goes on a date and she doesn't really get the right vibes from the guy and she decides, you know what, I'm gonna leave this date, I'm not gonna stay on this date, I'm gonna go home, then suddenly she's called mean, she's called immoral because she didn't give the guy a reason why she left. But if a guy, on the other hand, is making strategic business decisions with people and he is keeping his energy scarce and he's only going where he's appreciated and he's not going to entertain the energy of people that are not going to give him business, then suddenly he's praised for being a man who knows what's going on. Because in this world, men are praised for understanding the power of energy, of removing their energy when the energy is no longer being reciprocated and going where their energy is appreciated. Men are praised for doing this, but women are not. Women are told that we need to tend to everyone and their mom's needs before we can tend to our own, which means that we never actually get in touch with our own energy. And this is why we have such a hard time not arguing every single time someone removes energy from us. Think about it like this. We've probably all heard about the girl who has a boyfriend that she broke up with, or he broke up with her, and now she's chasing him and she's asking, why did you do it? Why did this happen? She's sending him paragraphs. The energy has been removed. The energy is no longer there. The lamp is no longer on. But she's still trying to argue with the lamp to say that it should be turned on. Why are you not turned on? Instead of her moving her energy to another lamp, instead of her preserving her energy. That is because as women, we have been raised to believe that we need to be something for someone in order for us to be of value. That is because we've been raised to believe that our energy is not actually something we can trust. We cannot trust removing our energy when the energy is not there, because we're supposed to be with everyone through thick and thin. We're supposed to be there for everyone no matter what. But at the same time, this both sets us up for being played, but at the other end, it also sets us up for being predispositioned to being extremely sad, because as soon as we might enter into a relationship or a friendship, we start thinking, oh, what am I going to do when this goes wrong? Instead of just riding the wave of it being joyful until things don't match up anymore, and then we remove our energy. We become so confused that we jump in with both feet without saying, okay, you know what comes first? My energy comes first. Does this feel right? Yes, it does feel right. Okay, I'm gonna let my energy, I'm gonna feel the good energy, I'm gonna observe the energy, and then if I feel like my energy is being recharged and replenished more and more, maybe I will pour myself in more. I will not overshare. I will not overcompensate. I will not people please to make other people give me their energy, because you know what happens? You feel like when they remove your energy, they have taken something for you, and you never feel taken aback if you're not feeling like you're taking. You will never take anything personally unless you feel like you're taking. That is why when we go through these friendships breakups or whatever, we feel like we take things personally. We take things personally because we were taking. We were trying to control. We were trying to make everything happen according to some plan that we have in our head, that things are going to go a specific way. And if it doesn't go a specific way, then we're going to literally cry. We are always trying to control the narrative because we're afraid that if we don't control the narrative, we're going to be called women that cannot handle everything, because we've been raised in a society where we're supposed to be able to handle everything, instead of just sitting back, relaxing and saying, okay, I'm not supposed to be handling how everyone and their mom does stuff. I'm just supposed to be sitting back, enjoying the time while it's here. And then when the energy is no longer good, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to send a lot of paragraphs. I'm just going to remove my energy and take it where it's supposed to be. I'm going to take it where I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be replenished. And that is what society will call selfishness. But you know what? It's not selfish when you understand that this energy is actually going to be able to build you so much that you can give back. You can give back so much that women, people, children, animals around the world can literally grow from you putting energy into yourself. And that is what the power of selfishness is. That is what keeps you beautiful. That is what keeps you feminine. And that is what keeps you happy and healthy. So pretty girls need to stay selfish so that they can preserve their